Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
Welcome aboard Truly Expat Travel, where we're ditching the guidebooks, fastening our seatbelts, and diving into real stories from travellers who have traded the ordinary for the extraordinary, proving the world really is too big to be left unexplored. Cabin crew, be seated and ready for takeoff. Okay, so welcome back to the Truly Expat Travel podcast, and I'm your host, Paula, and today I'm doing another recording of just me. I'm flying solo, and that is because today we're going to talk about Hong Kong, and it's not that I live there right now, but it is that I have lived there before. I've lived there twice, and my husband is currently there a lot at the moment, and I've just come back from there. We did New Year's Eve, and then I did 2 weeks there. So yeah, I can talk a lot about Hong Kong, even though I'm currently right now, as I speak, still living in Singapore. So let's get started. It's not going to be a long episode, but it's going to be one that's full of a lot of information anyway. Anyway, let's get started, and I'll talk to you and explain to you what my journey of Hong Kong was or is, and why Hong Kong is such a special place for me. Now, let's go back, I'm going to say 30 years ago, a long time ago, when my husband and I, who were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, actually, no, we were engaged. We were backpacking through Asia, and our very first stop was Hong Kong. What made it stand out more than anything was that I remember landing in Hong Kong back when it was the old airport, and it was scary. It was really, really scary. And so I also remember it was nighttime and feeling like I was going to land into someone's, like literally into someone's bedroom. It was really, anyway, it was a really tough landing. It was the very first time I'd ever gone to an Asian country. So for me, it was quite a bit of a culture shock. So that night we stayed in a hotel in Nathan Road. So for those who don't know what Nathan Road is, it's probably one of the most well-known roads in kind of Kowloon on the mainland of Hong Kong. It's got lots of things like night markets, very, very local. It's very Hong Kong. Whereas Hong Kong Island, which I'll explain a little bit later, is very much westernized to some degree, but also it's modernized is probably a better word, not westernized, modernized, as opposed to, I feel like Kowloon is still quite busy, but lots of tourists, but it's still quite authentic, if that's the best way to explain it. Anyway, I digress. Let me get back into my story where the reason I wanted to say this was that I remember arriving in Nathan Road and seeing all these full-on lights. And you know, like in the movies where they've got a whole lot of lights kind of when you walk down the street, that's all you see on the signboards and stuff. That's what it was like. And I was like, wow, I feel like I've stepped into, you know, a proper movie set, you know, like a Jackie Chan movie set. But why I wanted to mention this was that the next morning we woke up and we went for a walk down Nathan Road. Firstly, I was like, this stinks. This whole area stinks. It's so dirty. You know, why would anyone want to live here? And I remember there was rats running around, and I was like, oh, yuck, this is awful. Obviously, it's nothing like how I feel now. But at the time, I'd only ever traveled to Europe outside of Australia before. I'd never gone anywhere else. I was 22, and I was green is probably the best word to say. Very unsure of what Asia had to offer, and the smells got to me, and I wasn't feeling well. And I remember we were looking for dim sum. We were looking for yum cha everywhere. No one knew what we were talking about. But years later, I realized that we were looking for dim sum. You know, in Australia we call it yum cha. I know in Japan they call it yum cha, but it is dim sum, and we didn't know that. We just thought it was yum cha because that's what we had in Sydney or in Australia. And then that was number one, and number two was we stayed in this hotel. So it was back when you could only book through travel agents. Yep. back those days where there was no internet. And so she suggested that when we first land that we stay in a hotel, a really nice hotel, instead of backpacking, because we were backpacking through all of Asia. And we were like, okay. Little did we know that hotel was so expensive, it actually ate up a quarter of our budget because we had to pay when we got there. And we were like, wow, this is so expensive. And it was like a shoebox. I don't even know if that hotel is still there, but it was for us backpackers, it was like, wow. So we walk out, and then you've got the man, the butler, not the butler, the guy at the door, the doorman, with the he had the like very well dressed, and the turban, and just it was such a culture shock that we were like, oh my God. What I wanted to say is that is not how I feel now. In fact, I would say Hong Kong is the complete opposite to what I thought what it was back then. When we went back and we moved there, it was our second posting we'd ever done. We'd done Taiwan before that, and I loved it. I loved every bit of Hong Kong. I loved the place. I loved the raw I loved that raw, authentic, local feeling that you get. And every place is different, so you go to Kowloon on the mainland, and like I said, it's still quite authentic. You go to Hong Kong Island, and it's much more modernized. There's lots of great bars. You've got the business district there. You got a lot of expats there too, right? And then you go on to the islands, and Lantau Island, which is where I used to live, where you got Disneyland, you've got beaches, and you've got a real local lifestyle. Which I just loved when the kids were little, and they had so much freedom when the kids were, it's such a safe place. It was that they could run around and come home when the lights were on, which, you can't really do that in many places anymore. So their upbringing was very different. It was kind of like how I grew up in Australia. Then I guess why I wanted to talk about it now and my journey with Hong Kong is that because we've just recently come back and we spent New Year's Eve in Discovery Bay, which is where I used to live, it was so lovely because you catch a ferry, because you have to catch a ferry to the island. And when you get there, it's Lantau Island's also where the airport is, by the way. But when you get to Discovery Bay and you get off, and then and my children who were in their 20s all ran into people they knew. We ran into people we knew. We had dinner there. We went and walked around to where we used to live, the school. It was nostalgic. It was really, it felt like home. That's the only way I can explain it. It felt like home. And then we caught up with friends that were more like family while we were there. Like it was a really lovely time. So anyway, that's why I am inspired to talk about Hong Kong today. So let's get started on my questions. I haven't started on my questions yet. So let's get started. I guess on question one, I've already, what was my journey? I'm not going to talk about my expat journey, but my Hong Kong journey. And then now we're going to talk about what would you say Hong Kong is famous for? Hong Kong is famous for its food, definitely its food, its nightlife, the neon signs. It's also very famous for Hong Kong Sevens. It's very famous for yum cha, it's for dim sum. And it's also famous for shopping, lots and lots of shopping, lots of hiking. There's a lot of hiking in Hong Kong. Even when you are, this is the one thing I remember, I noticed the most was that when I was walking around the city, I had forgotten how hilly everything is. In Singapore, everything's flat. So it makes sure you put walking shoes on. Don't put anything that's not, like heels and stuff. You can wear heels here, but there it was a little more tricky. So I would say that is probably what it's most famous for. And also, apparently, if you're thinking of buying luxury brands, that is the best place to buy them. The tax is so much, you get it back anyway, but that's why there is so many people buying luxury items there, because it is one of the cheapest places in the world to buy luxury goods, which I'll talk about where I think is a really great place to shop in a minute. And what are some of the best known attractions? I would say the Peak, going up the tram. Oh, that is one thing. It is known for having the steepest tram in the world. You can walk all the way up to the peak, but I highly recommend the tram because it's actually quite fun, unless you're going to walk all the way to the peak and then catch the tram down, either or the other way around. But yes, definitely do that. That's an attraction. The Big Buddha in Lantau Island, those cable cars, if you're scared of heights like me, not the best choice of things to do, but it is a beautiful scenery. You go to the monastery, you go up to the Big Buddha. It's really pretty. I would highly recommend that. In terms of attractions, definitely the night markets in Kowloon, and catching the Star Ferry. It's the oldest ferry there. It's 100 and something years old. That's very cool, and it's so cheap, and it doesn't take very long. So the Star Ferry, and if you want to go at night, the Star Ferry around about 8 o'clock, I think it is where all the night laser show is. And then if you're on the Star Ferry, it's actually quite cool because you get to see it all. You can do the Avenue of the Stars on Kowloon in TST as well. So that's very cool. Then other things that you can do, you can do typo. From my memory's horrible. But if you go to the fishing village on Lantau Island, that's quite cool. And you can catch you can do like a tour to see the pink dolphins. But I have to say, in the 6 or 7 times that I ever did it, I never saw one. Not one. But, people have seen them. But it is good to see all the fishing village on stilts. I also go down to Stanley. There's Stanley Markets. There's Repulse Bay to go for a swim in the beach. Also the junks. The junks was always a really cool part of living in, the junk boats where you go on and then you can jump off the side and swim. You can have a lunch on there, dinner on there, whatever it is that you're celebrating. But I think as a tourist, you can actually go on board with other people and do like a tour. There's also the original boats. You can do a tour along there. I did that last year. I think it was last year. That's also quite fun to do, as well as the trams. The trams are so cheap. They're really cheap way to get around on Hong Kong Island. But there is a tram tour you can do. I really highly recommend it. I did it last year for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. You also have Disneyland, of course. It is much smaller than most other Disneylands, but which makes it actually fun. And it's not, it is crowded, but nothing like Japan. I was just last year, I've said it before, where we went to Japan and went to Universal Studios, and the same. Oh my God, it was overload of amount of people. But Hong Kong doesn't seem to have as many people, so you can still get on rides and you're not waiting stupid amount of times for it. And I highly recommend going on single rider. And I probably shouldn't say that because then everyone will be doing it, but go on single rider because you do get up to the front much quicker. As long as if you don't mind sitting next to some random person you don't know, then definitely go single rider. When's the best time to now? Okay, so I'm gonna say that there are 2 seasons in Hong Kong, which is your hot, sweaty season, and then which is summer, and then you've got your winter, which is a mild winter to most other places, but it is definitely nicer. It's cooler. I like the winter because although when I went Christmas shopping in December in Hong Kong, and it was cool. But I had a t-shirt and jeans on, and I was very comfortable. So I really enjoyed the winter. But then after New Year's when I was there, it was cold. It was probably, I'm going to embarrass myself because I was in Japan and that was cold. That was in the minuses, but it was probably around about 10 degrees, 11 degrees. That's cold. I find that really cold. But I did really enjoy the winter. If you are a person that just loves the sun and is happy with the 30-something degrees and the 80% humidity and the rain, then Hong Kong in summer can be a lot of fun as well because there's beaches that you can go to in Lantau or in Repulse Bay. There's junks I was saying that you can go to. There's actually lots of hikes that are lovely with waterfalls. that the kids used to love going swimming in. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in summer that you can't do really in winter. So my answer to that is it actually is good any season. It seems to be busy every part. I mean, Hong Kong's one of those places that is always busy. It doesn't matter what time of year. Singapore's the same. It's just always busy. So when it comes to getting around, is there any public transport? Or do you need to get a car? Do not get a car. Don't get a car. It's so silly. The public transport there is so good. You can catch Ubers, you can catch taxis, and you can catch trains, you can catch trams, you can catch buses. All of them are reliable. All of them are really easy. You can tap on and tap off with your own card now. You never used to be able to. Or you can purchase an Octopus card when you're there. But you can actually get it on your phone now, so you can tap with an Octopus card on your phone. So yeah, either way, it's the easiest and it's the most convenient way to get around. Ubers are everywhere as well, so it's either or. So definitely do not get a car. When it comes to souvenirs, less touristy things like magnets and stuff, what would I purchase? That's a good question, actually, because I think with Hong Kong, there's so many beautiful little boutiques as well that you can pick up something that is a little more less touristy. You know, I remember when people were leaving Hong Kong and for a souvenir, not a souvenir, but for a gift when they were leaving, we'd always kind of buy the same thing, and it would be a Shanghai Tang, what do you call it? Frame. Picture frame, a silver one, and it's unique. It's a little on the pricey side, but it's so beautiful and it's such a lovely keepsake. I really think, yeah, I love Shanghai Tang. And if you do go into Shanghai Tang, their room spray is so nice. It's so nice that I actually still buy it and put it in my bathroom and stuff because it's such a really lovely smell. It just reminds me of Hong Kong. They're the things that I would highly recommend. You can go, I mean, there's a dime a dozen in the ladies' markets and stuff. There's loads and loads of things there. But they're kind of, you can get anything there. But it's very cheap and cheerful sort of stuff. I also, you know what I used to always do as well, is that if I was going up to Shenzhen, or even not Shenzhen, even if I was going to one of the little shops that especially in Kowloon, that they have, like the Chinese medicine shops, and there's a lot of tea shops, I would always buy those flower teas, which is a really lovely thing to bring home, and buy a see-through teapot, and then when you put the hot water in, it flowers and there's a beautiful flower. That's kind of, I would recommend bringing back as a gift or a souvenir. I don't know if it's a souvenir, but it's definitely a gift. They're the things I would get from Hong Kong. So looking back to when you first arrived, what was my wow moment? Okay, my wow moment was I didn't realize how different each area of Hong Kong was. I thought Hong Kong was Kowloon and TST. Very local, very busy, loads of smells, crazy, lots of people. But when I realized there are so many other places in Hong Kong that you can get away from the hustle and bustle, I realized, wow, okay, I really could live here. And especially when I lived in Discovery Bay, because it's so quiet in comparison to the rest of Hong Kong, that I remember a friend of mine who had moved there from Taiwan and said, come and visit Discovery Bay. This is where I live. And I remember arriving and seeing, back then, there was no taxis, there's no cars. There's no cars now anyway, and everyone drove a golf cart. And I was like, wow, I really like this. It feels like a resort. And that's what it did. For 6 years that we lived there, felt like I was living on a resort. And you had, pools that you could go, you had like clubs that you could swim at. I did like loads of stuff like dragon boating, and the kids played rugby. It was such a beautiful place. There's so many wow moments for me living in Hong Kong. So what does a typical local meal look like? Okay, so definitely dim sum. Dim sum is something that, there's a place in Hong Kong, in Hong Kong Island, that is the oldest dim sum place I can't think of the name of it, but I will put it in the show notes, in Hong Kong. And we were just there recently, and it's cool. It's very cool. The food was amazing. Like the pork belly. My kids love that pork belly and rice. Amazing. And pork neck. I think we had pork neck as well. And it was, like that barbecue pork. It's so good with rice, and it's hectic and it's affordable, and there's people everywhere. You sit at a table and other people sit at the table with you, and it's exactly what Hong Kong is about. Most of Hong Kong is. And I love that. Don't just stay in Kowloon. Don't just stay on Nathan Road. Go and stay. There's so many other places that you can stay. I actually quite like staying in Admiralty, that kind of area, because it's quite central, or in Central itself, near the escalators. There's one big escalator that goes all the way up, and there's great bars and restaurants along that kind of escalator. So I would say stay around there. Or if you want a really good view along Wan Chai, Causeway Bay, that's always really lovely. So I wish people had told me that there was more than just Kowloon when I first went and visited. I'm very glad I went out to Lantau and ended up staying and living in Discovery Bay, because the community out there is amazing. And if you get to go, head over just for the day and eat at the restaurants just along in the plaza. Sit and have a drink. Just there's a whole lot of beautiful restaurants along there. There's an ice skating rink if you really want to go ice skating. You can go for a hike down to across to Mui Wo and then catch a ferry back to Central. I mean, there's so much to do in Lantau. You can also catch a taxi from Lantau now, or a bus over to Tung Chung, where all their outlets are. So that, since I've left, has doubled in size. It's a quite a big, massive shopping mall with all factory outlets prices. So you've got high end, but you've also got the other stuff like the Lululemons and the Nike and Adidas and stuff like that as well. So I would, if you want to go shopping, that's a really good place to go. And you can do the whole spend a day. You can spend 2 days in Lantau, to be honest, because then you've got the Disneyland and stuff as well. Now, if you were planning the perfect 3-day itinerary, not for tourists but for friends, what would you say to do in those 3 days? Okay, so day 1, I would say go to Lantau, go to the Big Buddha, and go to do the cable car, because that's what everyone does. But then go and explore. Go down to the fishing village that I suggested, or go and catch a taxi all the way to the other side to Mui Wo, have something to eat, and then catch a ferry back to Central. Or you can go to one of the beaches, if it's summer, go to one of the beaches along the way, because you can swim out there and it's beautiful. Day 2, I would say you have to go up to the peak, whether it is that you're going to go, you walk up, like I said before, and then catch the tram down, or the tram up and down. You have to do that. That's I feel like that's a rite of passage. You just have to do that while you're there and have a look around. You can have some lunch up there, and then there is also a Madame Tussauds wax museum inside there. There is shops up there. Just can't think what else it is. You can have a look around the park. There's a park there. Then I would go early. The earlier the better, because it does get super busy. And I would purchase the tickets online if you can, because the line is so busy. Then I would, and then in the afternoon, I would just have a look around to, everywhere from Central, Causeway Bay, that kind of thing. There's so much shopping to do. There's some really great bars, rooftop bars, that you should have a look at. The views along there are so spectacular at night. It's hard not to. You can't compete with it. It's just beautiful. There's a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of bars. Have a look around Central. You can look around Central, do some shopping. Then I would pretty much, if Central and that was my focus that day, I'd go to Admiralty, Wan Chai, you have to catch a tram along, because that's quite fun to do. And then if it's a Wednesday, I would go to Happy Valley. You have to go to Happy Valley. Happy Valley is the racing. Even if you're not, if you don't really like to punt, or you're not a big better, or don't like the races, it's a fun environment. So you go, you tap your octopus card to get in. I think it's like, I don't know, $1, $2 or something to get in, and then you can do whatever you want. There are a lot of people there, but it's the only place I've ever been to where you can stand right on the barracks there and you can literally touch the horses if you wanted to. It's so close. It's a real fun night. I think so. Anyway, I would do that. And then on the third day, I mean, you've got a couple of options, but I would definitely go to maybe Stanley, have a look around in Stanley because you have the markets and stuff. Then go and have a look at, you can also go to Repulse Bay and have a swim if it's summer. But if it's winter, then maybe you can catch the Star Ferry over to TST and have a look around at the Avenue of the Stars, walk along that promenade, and then catch the boat. I can't think of the name of the boat, but what I'll do is I'll put the link below, and it does a really cool trip, or cool, cruise around the harbour. You don't get any food or anything, but it's an old style boat, Chinese boat with red sails. You've probably seen it 1,000 times if you've been there before, but that is also something I highly recommend. That's beautiful. That it really is beautiful. And then that night I'd go to TST and you're at TST, go over to the night markets because it's an experience. You have to kind of go and check it all out. But 3 days isn't enough. Can I tell you? 3 days isn't enough, because I would then have a day at Shenzhen, which is the border of China and Hong Kong. I would then do a day of hiking, and then I would there's so much more to do in Hong Kong. And if you want more information, go and have a look at my website, because I've got loads of ideas of things to do. Those spots that locals guard, like Precious Secrets. What's your favourite neighbourhood? It's got to be Discovery Bay. And like I said before, you catch a ferry over, spend the morning or spend the day at Lantau, but spend the morning or lunchtime at Discovery Bay, or even the evening. It's so pretty there. You can sit outside, have a drink, or have something to eat. I won't go on about it and then I personally think you can even stay. Actually, you can stay in Discovery Bay. There's a hotel there as well. There is a hotel in Mui Wo as well, but Mui Wo, there's not as much to do. So I would really think of staying at least one night. It's a very different feeling to the rest of Hong Kong, and most tourists don't go to Discovery Bay. They go to Lantau Island because they go to. Sorry, I keep looking up there because I've got a big photo of Discovery Bay on my wall. So if you go to Discovery Bay, most people just go to Lantau Island for, the Big Buddha, or go to Disneyland. But I would suggest actually going to DB and really enjoying and walking around, because it's such a beautiful. There's 2 plazas. Most people tourists just go, or people that visit go to the main one, but you can walk all the way to the second plaza, and that's just as pretty. Anyway, I thought I would do a really short session on Hong Kong, but because there's so much to tell you, there was so much to talk about. So, yeah, I hope you get to visit Hong Kong, because it is one of those places that I feel has always had a piece of my heart. It's really a part of my kids' lives. They grew up there, and I am looking forward to the Hong Kong Sevens that are in April at the new Hong Kong Sevens Stadium. So, yeah. Anyway, if I don't see you before then hopefully I'll see you at the Hong Kong Sevens. And anyway, safe travels, and I'll speak to you next week on Truly Expat Travel. Thank you for joining me on the Truly Expat Travel podcast. If you liked this episode and you found it valuable, then why don't you go ahead and like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode moving forward. I've got some amazing guests and some fantastic destinations coming up. But if this is the episode and this is the destination that you really want to go to, then I suggest you head over to trulyexpattravel.com, where you'll find travel guides and deep dive into this sort of destination. If that's not what you want and you can't find an episode that is a destination you want to travel to, then head over and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because I'm pretty sure you'll find something there. In the meantime, safe travels, and I'll see you next week.